Hello children. As you know, we are studying RDBMS and we have started the RDBMS, the main parts of the window, identifying the database objects, assigning the data types, editing the table in design view and creating the table through wizard. And now we are to create and edit table using the DDL commands. Now what are DDL commands? Now in RDBMS we have an inbuilt and embedded SQL, that is a structured query language, which is a separate language. It can be used in any database management software. So here we have the embedded language which we can use within OpenOffice. SQL commands, that is the structural query language, we call it SQL also. They are categorized as DDL and DML commands. Now DDL commands are data definition language, or you can say data description language, and DML command or DML language is data manipulation language. Now in DDL we define the structures in a database, that is defining the table. We created a table, we defined the fields in it, we define the types of fields in it. That includes the DDL, defining the structure of a database object. Then DML command or DML language is which helps us to access and manipulate the data. Like actual data, when we fill in the data within a database, that data can be manipulated and accessed using the data manipulation language, that is DML. Now there are two types of DML, that is data manipulation languages. One is procedural and one is non-procedural. Well, procedural language, as you can see, it's the user specifies what data is needed and how to get it. Full procedure is described in the language, and in non-procedural language, the user only specifies what data is needed. That's it. How to get it is not described in non-procedural language, so it's easier for the user but may not generate the code as efficient as that produced in the procedural languages. So there can be a question in the exam regarding the difference between the procedural and non-procedural languages. For procedural we have, it's a command driven language. Non-procedural, it's a function driven language. In procedural, the semantics or the syntax is tough. Here in non-procedural, the semantics or syntax, it's simple. The overall efficiency in procedural language is very high, whereas it is very low in non-procedural languages. And the size, you can say the code size is very large because the whole procedure is defined. And here in the non-procedural language, the code size, the program size is very small here, because we just had the user just has to define what is needed, how is not to be defined. And in procedural language, the commands are given in sequence, in logical order, in step-by-step process is given how to solve a problem. But in non-procedural, it is just the user specifies the result. The result, what he or she requires, it is applicative or functional language. Now, DDL commands, there are in DDL that is data definition language. The main commands that we use are creating a table, altering a table, and dropping. That means deleting any you can say column from the table or deleting the table altogether. And DML or the data manipulation language includes the following commands, that is selecting the data from a table, inserting the data into a table, updating the data, and deleting the data. As you can see, DDL commands are all relating to the table structure, and DML commands are all relating to the actual data within the table. So here we have certain syntax of all the commands. We'll start with the create command, how to create a table. The syntax of create table is create table, is to be written, that is compulsory. Create table is to be written. Then you can take up any table name. It can be X, Y, Z, A, B, C, anything. Then starting a bracket, and then you have to define the columns. The first column, data type. The second column, data type. Third column, data type with comma separating each columns. And until you are done with all the columns of your table, you continue with your column names, and in the end you close the bracket, parenthesis, and semicolon marks the end of any query. Again, I'm telling you, the syntax is create table, that is compulsory. Then you give the table name. Then within the parenthesis, that is starting the small bracket, you start giving the column name and the data type with a comma separating each one of the data types. And then in the end, you just close the uh, bracket and end with a semicolon. Now here's an example. It's a create table persons. Persons is the name of the table. As you can see, I start with a bracket. Now here I'm taking the fields person ID. The type is int, comma, last name varchar, it's the type, and 25 I want the length of the last name. Similarly, first name varchar 25, address varchar 25, city varchar 25. You can take up any number of columns in your table. After create table, table name, closing the bracket and semicolon at the end. I copy this text from here. Just copy this command from here with Control C. And then I start with my Open Office. I start creating a database from, you can say, File, New. I go to File, New. Here I'll create a database, and here next. I cannot, yes or no, register. I finish, and here I can give a name of a new database. I can say BBB. I save the database, and here I am with a new altogether new database called bbb.odb. Now here I can just go to Tools, SQL, and here in the SQL window I will give the command that I copied from there, that is create table persons. Now here I don't need the example word over here. Create table persons, and here the name of the columns, and closing bracket and semicolon. I execute. My command is executed successfully. I close this. Now here I'm not able to see any table in my database. Now what do? I can go to view, refresh tables. Now here I can see my table persons over here, and I can see the document over here.